The Department of Homeland Security Secretary, a guy by the name of Alejandro Mayorkas, raising some eyebrows, just gave an interview very recently where he's talking about national borders as, quote, lines that mark national boundaries and divide us, but they shouldn't be seen as borders. So it's sort of lines that are just national boundaries, but not as borders. So we're going to break this down, and then we're going to take a look at what's Kamala Harris doing about all this, because this has been going on for some period of time. Several months ago, she was appointed by Joe Biden to come out here and solve this problem for us, and not happening. What's the deal? Let's take a quick look. Over from Breitbart.com, this says that the Department of Homeland Security chief says that we should not see borders as lines that mark national boundaries and divide us. That's very unifying. It says, rather than viewing borders solely as the lines that mark national boundaries and that divide us from one another, we should see borders as a point of connection. It's beautiful. As the place where the flow of people and goods from different countries interact and intersect. Wow, it's profound. Mayorkas declared during an annual conference hosted by the Council of Americas on Tuesday. His comments came amid a border crisis at the U.S. national border, fueled by a migrant surge, primarily from Central America's Northern Triangle region like Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. The flow of migrants is overwhelming DHS resources and the border agents who operate under the department, forcing the release of migrants into U.S. communities. Not to mention that there are still kids in cages, way more kids in cages than Trump had kids in cages. And here we have the Department of Homeland Security, which is supposed to be protecting the homeland, securing the homeland. They have an entire department for that, in fact. And he's supposed to be doing that, but now he's talking about this as they're not even really, borders. They're just sort of national boundaries, sort of like, the difference between when you cross the border between Arizona and California. It's not even a big deal. Just kind of drive on through. Same deal. It's just a border. Here he is, the actual quote from him. This is him today. America's society. We already read that quote. He says, we should see the borders as a point of connection. This view recognizes the good that we can offer each other and the connection between international exchange and economic vitality. Our vision for migration management and our immigration system is rooted in the belief that people should be treated with dignity and respect. This is not inconsistent with enforcing the law and securing our border. So I don't even know what that means. I don't know if you understand what that means with dignity and respect, because this administration has them in space blankets stacked on top of one another. So I don't know what that means. Their decisions on changing the immigration policies resulted in the current conditions, in one man's humble opinion. When you say that, well, you come into America, we're not going to require you to stay in Mexico under the Trump administration. That was their policy. Well, people listened. Oh, we don't have to wait in Mexico. We can just come right into America? Yeah, you can. So there was a surge. My opinion, it's a direct result of the policies that they have implemented. So their own policies now are resulting in people being treated without dignity and without respect. Then this guy comes out and says, well, it's migration management. It's rooted in dignity and respect. We all see the pictures. Jerk. We can all look at them on CNN, anywhere else you want. Not good images. So you can tell us how you're handling the situation, but you're not doing a good job of it, because we all see the images. We all see these little children being dragged across the desert. It's about to get really hot really soon, and people are going to start dropping dead. So rather than you getting out here and telling us how much your migration management system is rooted in dignity and respect, how about you just do it? How about you just start making some policy changes that will lead to actual dignity and respect? Or do you just want to keep talking about it? We also have some more here from this article. It says many of the migrants reaching the border are unaccompanied children and families from Central America. Republicans have accused the Biden administration of pushing an open borders agenda. Biden keeps insisting the border is closed. He struck a more welcoming tone as a candidate. Migrants keep coming in, with some released into U.S. communities. Biden administration message is falling on deaf ears, in part due to online ad campaigns by human smugglers who promise guaranteed entrance into the U.S. under the current president. Human smugglers, including those who rape women and girls during their journey, benefit financially from the influx of migrants. So they're creating a new market. The policies are creating a market that is allowing people to be exploited by these people who are raping women and bringing children across. Republicans have blamed Biden undoing Trump-era immigration policies for the border crisis. Mayorkas indicated that the Biden administration is working on creating an immigration system where people are treated with dignity and respect, except for today. This is not inconsistent with the law and securing the border. Governments of Mexico, Guatemala, and El Salvador have directly and indirectly blamed the Biden administration's welcoming tone for the surge at the U.S. southern border. And we have talked about this repeatedly. I've played clips from migrants coming across. Say, yeah, I mean, basically, we were scared under Trump, but now, because they are telling us that they're going to let us in, we're coming. And this current administration still wants to blame Trump. Mayorkas mentioned that DHS is working to ensure a robust and safe movement of goods and people across the Western Hemisphere. So, okay, that's great. So what is the problem here? Why is this still ongoing? Because everything was supposed to be, rainbows and sunshine under this new administration. We were going to return to normal, return to decency, because Donald Trump was a racist, white Cheeto monster who was a supremacist in all regards, and he was responsible for every single ill in America, not to mention the world and theoretically the universe. So Kamala Harris now, according to Joe Biden, was the right person for the job at the right time. And she's going to come in here and clean this whole thing up. So where is she? What is she doing? What is she blaming this on? Well, here's Kamala Harris says that the lack of climate adaptation and climate resilience is part of the root causes of migrant crisis. Okay, sounds good. So nothing that you guys did, but it has to do with the lack of climate adaptation and climate resilience, whatever the hell that means. Okay, so here it goes. On Tuesday, she claimed that the lack of climate adaptation and climate resilience in northern triangle countries was one of the root causes of the migration crisis at the southern border, along with a list of other things, including violence and government corruption. Okay, so we're just going to add those down at the bottom of the list. So Republicans have pointed to the rolling back of the Trump-era border protections, like the construction of the border wall and the migrant protection protocols for the surge in migration at the southern border this year, which has left the Biden administration scrambling to house them and has seen migrants being released into the interior without court dates. This article comes over from Fox News. But the White House has doubled down on its emphasis on root causes such as violence and poverty for the reason for the surge. Harris, who has gone 41 days without a press conference on the border since being given the task of leading the diplomatic effort with Mexico and Central America, has repeatedly made a similar emphasis. And I remember this. Kamala Harris was sitting there next to Joe Biden. And when that happened that day, we came here on this channel and I was like, oh boy, this is like the biggest bag of garbage that anybody has ever handed to Kamala Harris in her whole life. Hey, this border crisis that we haven't been able to figure out since the history of history for the last 30 years. I've been alive my whole life. We've always been talking about the border problem. Always. Because we have a bunch of politicians and nobody wants to do anything. Why would they? They're politicians. They don't get reelected if they accomplish things. They need stuff to do. So they don't ever solve it. We're still talking about it. When Joe Biden got first sworn in and he was sitting there, oh, we got Kamala Harris here. Here you go, dear. Solve this problem that no other party or person or anybody has been able to solve ever. You're going to handle it. And you could see it in her face like, oh, God. Your time is coming there, old man. You could tell Kamala's going, all right, I'm going to handle this one for now, but better watch your step there, buddy boy. White House has doubled down, already read that, on Tuesday. In a speech to the Washington Conference on the Americas, she made a distinction between acute causes, such as drought, food insecurity, and COVID-19, and long-standing root causes. She says, I'm thinking of corruption, violence, and poverty, the lack of economic opportunity, the lack of climate adaptation and climate resilience, and the lack of good governance. Okay. Harris has cited weather and climate issues before when talking about the, quote, root causes. Recently, at a Northern Triangle roundtable in April, she spoke extensively of the list of issues she believes are root causes. We're looking at extensive storm damage because of extreme climate. We're looking at drought in an area, in a region where agriculture is one of the most traditionally important bases for their economy. We're looking at what's happening in terms of food scarcity as a result of, in fact, incredible food insecurity. We call hunger food insecurity. We're looking, therefore, at a number of issues that also relate to poverty, extreme poverty. There's no violence coming out of those regions. We look at the root causes. We're also looking at issues of corruptions. We're looking at the issues of climate resiliency and the lack of economic opportunity. So basically, everything is a problem. Is there anything that she missed on this? Can we talk about, is there anything else? Is the United States responsible for that? Is Kamala Harris, is this part of her job duties? as the border solution czar? Is she going to go fix all of these things? Climate resilience, we have lack of economic opportunity, droughts, food scarcity, agriculture, food insecurity. Is she going to fix all of those things? Because that is a lot of work to do. And there's a lot of countries out there that could use her hand in solving all of those issues. In fact, America could use some of her help. Can she solve this for Americans or not? Somebody else got that ball? Is that Joe Biden's job? And then Kamala Harris is going to go fix all of these problems for other people? I want everybody in the world to have food. I want everybody in the world to have what they need to live and do well. But America can't handle that, okay? America doesn't have the ability to save the entire planet. We do have an ability to create some pretty clear policies that will encourage people to immigrate into this country the right way, not being dragged across the border by coyotes and people who are raping women and children and bringing over unaccompanied minors just as collateral, just as like a suitcase, a human being like a suitcase, so that some drug trafficker can work their way into the country because they brought little Tommy with them to sneak across the border. Oh, it's a kid, and Biden administration just has policies that allow this to continue forward, and it is a humanitarian crisis. Kamala Harris running around the world, well, hunger, food insecurity, agricultural problems. Okay, how about you just change your policies that are creating incentives that are causing those people to put themselves in harm's way? Just a thought. On Tuesday, Harris touted a $310 million investment the U.S. was making in Central America, part of a massive $4 billion investment the Biden administration is promising to tackle the root causes in the region. Yeah, I mean, okay, that's great. I know there are people hungry in America, but that's good. She's going over there. She also said that she has spoken to world leaders, including Canada, Finland, Ireland, Japan, to try to help them, get them to help the Northern Triangle. Recently, the Biden administration has said it's considering sending cash to Central America to dissuade migrants from making the journey north, or you just change the freaking policy. Harris has come under fire for not visiting the border or holding a press conference. She has held virtual meetings with leaders of Guatemala and is planning a trip to Guatemala next month. Big. Yeah. Good job. Virtual meetings. That's great. Good job there, Kamala Harris. And we also know that this is, folks, this is not like 100 people coming across the border on a regular basis, okay? This is posted Monday. Over from CNN. Says here from Geneva Sands that nearly 6,000 undocumented immigrants are apprehended daily. Not a month, daily. At the U.S.-Mexico border in April. After a spike in apprehensions of undocumented immigrants in March raised alarms, CNN shows the numbers remains elevated, but appears to have plateaued. Oh, that's good. So we're leveling out about 6,000 people a day. The continued influx of people at the border reveals an ongoing struggle for the administration that has rushed to increase capacity for the thousands of migrant families, children, and adults crossing into the U.S. each week. Throughout April, Customs and Border Protection encountered an average of just under 6,000 every day, which is in line with the March average of 5,500 every day. Very, very big numbers. And they're going to just allow it to happen. And this is a big problem. Let's take some questions over from watchingthewatchers.locals.com. If you want to support the show, we would really appreciate it. That's the place to do it. It's watchingthewatchers.locals.com. Type that into a web browser, and then you can ask questions just like this, as well as get a copy of my book, download the slides that we just went through, and get a lot of other goodies, including meeting with and connecting with other people who are interested in free speech and free expression. Watchingthewatchers.locals.com. All right, questions. First one is from It's Ed. Says Milton Friedman recognize that you can't have open borders and a welfare system like the one we have at the same time. Also, Honduras does not have the safety risk that America has. You can't really compare the two countries. Yeah. Right. Because people will just come and get on the welfare system, right? And then it's going to bankrupt the welfare system, which is going to wreck the host country. And this is also a problem, right? Think about that. 5,000 people a day. What if those 5,000 or 6,000 people a day stayed in their countries and petitioned their government for a redress of grievances? Said, hey, we're not going to uproot our family and take our families across, thousands of miles into the United States. We want our own liberty, damn it. We want our own country. We want our own economic opportunities. We want our own freedoms. They have a ton of land down there. They have a ton of resources. It's a beautiful country all over the place. North America, the southern part of North America, South America, never been. Would love to go. Spent a lot of time in Mexico and elsewhere. Beautiful resources. But they have a corrupt government. They have, just like Kamala Harris pointed out, they have a lot of problems internally. If the people who are immigrating into the United States stayed there and said, we're going to demand changes, we're going to demand democracy, or we're going to create our own republic, we're going to hold you people accountable. But instead, they don't need to do anything because the United States is a pressure release valve. As soon as there's anything bubbling up, as soon as you have hundreds of thousands, millions of people who are in economic strife, who are in the world-class hardship because of their own government, rather than them demanding a change, democratizing, and becoming a first world country, they don't. They just say, okay, well, and they don't have to, because all of the disaffected, all of the people, they just get on the road and they come into the United States. And so many people in America are sitting here, patting themselves on the back going, God, we're just really great people. We're awesome. We're outstanding because we're humanitarian. We care about people in the world. We care about these poor migrants coming across the desert into the United States. And guess what? I do too. So do I. I want those people to have a good opportunity. And I want their kids to, and I want their kids' kids to, and I want the whole world to participate in the same beautiful thing that we have in America. A lot of it is rooted, I think, in our economic system and our political system. And so if we can help other countries get to that status, that's a good thing. But if we just allow them to continue to be corrupt and continue to just export their disaffected citizens to a different country that will happily take them, well, what happens? Yeah, very nice that all of those, the people who are willing to uproot their lives and make the change, we're grateful that we can help them as a country. But what about the other people who are still just seated down there in these corrupt bastions of economic oppression, and there is no incentive to reform the place because everybody who was there just bails. They just leave. Guess what, folks? It's going to happen in America too. People are just going to say, I'm sick of this crap. All of the rich people, the people, all of these people that are stigmatized and are scapegoated every turn, they're just going to say enough already. If you want to take 53% of their taxes, whatever the new tax plan is, and then you're printing $4 trillion on top of that, so the inflation is also, it's basically reducing the value of the dollar in addition to taxing it, and we have all, just an overly burdensome society for the people who are the engine of the world. They're just going to say, I've had enough of this stuff, right? And we're out. The people who can move will move. And guess who gets hurt? The people who stay behind. So all of these liberals congratulating themselves like we're helping migrants. A small segment of them. But it's like, give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach a man to fish, he can eat for a lifetime. It's the same concept. And by creating incentives that encourage people to leave their bad environment and come to our environment, you're creating a pressure relief valves that only encourages more corruption and more hardship and more economic oppression for all of those people still living in the country. So how about we create some incentives, then we can talk disincentives, then we can have some real conversations about what we can do as America to help these foreign countries, but not while they are exporting the strong people that need to stay in those countries to enact real change. All right. No Doubt in the House says Biden admin found they didn't have decision authority on all laws affecting the border and face planted into them. For two people who have spent years in government, their ignorance of how the laws work is astounding. Yeah, I agree with that. Jeremy Matrida in the House says the border is exactly as the current administration wants it to be. I agree with that. When any representative speaks about fixing the border, they are only paying lip service. They wasted no time in destroying many parts of our economy in the first day in office and couldn't fix things if they actually wanted to. Action always speaks louder than words. Good to see you, Jeremy. Good point on that one. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that both parties really have no interest in solving the border. I think that they both have strong incentives for keeping it open. I think Democrats largely in terms of votes, Republicans largely in terms of labor. And so we're not going to see a solution. If it was a real problem, we would have seen a solution. Like, cryptocurrency, right? They're going to come after that hard because both parties are angry about that. But both parties are happy about a broken border. Liberty or Death says, amazing. On any given day, there are roughly 500,000 people living on the street. 2/3 of that are veterans. 23 veterans kill themselves every day. But hey, let us take care of these illegal aliens first. Let's send them money to Central America on top of money we are sending them already, absent a treaty ratified by the Senate. Good call. Nicely done. Liberty. Nice summation there. We have _Shades says, appreciate your extra spunkiness today. Voicing all of our frustrations in spicy humor. More, please. LOL. I'm on one today. I get so irritated with this, all right. We got one more segment, and then we're going to get out of here. Good to see you, _Shades. And once again, if you want to support the show, that's at watchingthewatchers.locals.com.